find it, brother. Something that the first thing that stood out to me, right, is the balance and your philosophy around coaching and taking athletes through, making them move better, and also balance through training rather than you're going to do SBD in the off season or you're going to get massively strong and yoked in the off season, and then you're going to go play your sport in the on season and crack on. See you later. Come back when you've got a shitload of injuries, and we're going to have to figure this out, scratching our heads like monkeys, and be like, what went wrong? You know, it's the can you move well? Okay, cool. If that answer is no, then we probably need to start there, right? And then how balanced are we trying to make you prepared for how you make your money? And that's I think it goes amiss a lot in the S&C for sport realm, right? Everybody likes to put on a hat and say, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. You're like, okay, Jeffrey, like we coach at a, City Fitness or Globo Gym, and coach Daphne, who's 49, that doesn't make you an S&C coach, she might have played volleyball 30 years ago, but that doesn't mean like you can have some specific sport training. So that's what stood out to me, dude. And I was just like, dude, we got to fucking have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk to people in my industry, it's tough because for a really long time ago, so I got into the field from a guy named Buddy Morris. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Um, he's the head strength coach for the Arizona Cardinals. What I would say one of the best strength conditioning coaches probably in the world. He's very, very influential. And the first time I interned with him was at University of Pittsburgh, and it's funny because I remember he used to say like the hardest part about my job is just coming in here and turning on the lights. And he's like, we have a bunch of tremendous athletes here, and I'd be lying to you if I said that, I'm the reason that they're tremendous athletes. He always used to say, it's like if you have somebody that is just a genetic freak, and a lot of times you're going to get those guys, it's your job just not to fuck things up. Okay. And I remember at that point, I really liked bodybuilding. I liked Arnold, and I wasn't going to school for S&C. I actually was going to school for law. Um, and the first couple times I was watching him and his assistant James Smith program, I was very surprised at how low volume it was in the weight room because again, I'm coming from Arnold, right? And
Yeah.
it's like we're doing 20 sets of chest. Um, and I thought like, man, why do and not disrespectfully, but just like why do people think that these guys are so good? Like they're barely fucking doing anything in the weight room. And it was at that point I didn't understand that like the weight room was not where these guys were going to win or lose football games, right? Like the weight room was the accessory to whatever was occurring during practice or on the field or during the game, and not to overvalue that stuff. Which so I was conflicted before I got into the industry. I was like, okay, well, if you're being honest with yourself, strength conditioning is a total side dish. Like you could have an awful S&C program and have an amazing team. And so before I really jumped in, I was like, I know that this is going to be difficult because I can be very good at my job and have a bad team. I can be very good at bad players. And at the end of the day, like how important is what I do? And I still decided to fucking go into it for some reason. But I think that's an important question that we have to ask ourselves and remind ourselves is that, at the end of the day, the athlete has to be able to play. Some of the greatest athletes ever refuse to lift weights, refuse to train hard. Um, and so it's like, let's keep it into perspective. Okay. It's at the end of the day, probably the most important thing that we can recognize is that we're working with people, we're working with young people, we're working with people that we can mentor and help shape and build relationships with. And, the stuff that we do in the gym is great. Obviously we can either help or sometimes be a detriment to what they're doing on the field. But I'm very comfortable acknowledging that my greatest athletes and clients that I've had, that they were the majority of it was they were born that way. And I just played a role in facilitating some of their development, but could they have done it without me? Yeah. Could somebody else have screwed some shit up along the way? Probably. But I'm very aware that everything that I'm doing with them, it's like my main goal is I can't let them get hurt in the gym, because the gym is just a general environment for the athlete. So that's like number one. There's no reason for me to let them get hurt there. And number two is I just need to make sure that when it's time for them to go play, that they're ready physically to step on the field. And I feel like if I do that, then I'm doing my job pretty well.
Mm. I love the word that you use, facilitate, because that's what I think we are. We're facilitators. I don't think we build this huge base of the pyramid so these athletes can then go perform. I was like, we kind of fix it up. Like a lot of the time they come to the likes of us already pretty fucking fit. They're pro, semi-pro athletes. Or they're 19 looking to get that contract, and you're like, dude, you're a freak. If I train for the rest of my life, I'm probably never going to get a vertical like you. Let's be honest. And that's with needles in my ass. It's like, it's just not going to happen. And you're like, okay, well, how do we increase their preparedness so they can then go express themselves in a better manner? And that their choosing is their chosen sport. And you're like, all right, mega, like, and it's yeah, a lot of it is no, no, don't trip up on that weight on the floor. So why is it? Because you might break your toe. Like, just baby these people. And it's I think it really is important, but is it necessary? Probably not. Like, is it necessary to make a great team and an amazing team? Probably not. Because we've got the history books dictate no. Because this is a new thing. Okay, cool. But is this necessary to make a world dominant team? I would make the argument of yes. It's that top 2, 3, 1%, right? The little sprinkling on the cake. So my question back at you would be, how important is this thing?
And again, it's like I want to say that it's important. It's my job. It's what I do like 60, 70 hours a week. So it pains me. um, but like I've been fortunate to I've been around a lot of coaches who are working at top programs. I've met a lot of them. I see programs from college and pro teams all over the country. Um, the next difficult question would be how do we gauge what a good program is or isn't?
Yeah.
If it doesn't align with things that I believe, it doesn't necessarily make it a bad program. And there's no like one governing body that has determined, okay, this is definitely the best way to train. I mean, I think there's a lot of great coaches that have different philosophies. Um, but again, I've seen programs of Super Bowl winning teams, and I was very underwhelmed by it. I think, one of my, and this is not popular, one of my favorite players is Tom Brady. And I think the majority of the people that would read into either his diet or his training would say that it's fucking bullshit. Um, but he's arguably the greatest winner in sports, and whatever he was doing was working for him.
Yeah.
Um, Now, just because, again, so who's the idiot here? Is it me because I don't think that those things are built on solid principles, um, or is it him and his coach who have used it and ended up winning 7 Super Bowls? So, again, I think the more important part is like his coach got buy-in from him, and he felt like what he was doing was going to give him longevity in his career and help him perform better. And as long as he was feeling better, it's very hard for me to argue with that. Um, and so again, I, I think that it can play a nice role in an overall program, but I would say a lot of what I see ends up being more of like a detriment to a lot of athletes. And, I wonder at that point, like if you scrapped a lot of these, I don't know how familiar you are with like college programs in the States,
Mm.
but they're fucking archaic and they're so poorly put together. We might be better off if we literally just scrap the majority of them. Um, and so again, I think it's valuable if you have somebody that is exceptional, and by that I don't just mean skilled. I would just say exceptional in how diligent they are about their craft, the relationship that they're able to build with their athletes, and just their willingness to try to be a part of that team and a part of that environment. Then I believe it can be very additive and important for a program. But as it stands, just kind of like this, okay, when you're in the weight room, I train you, and then when you're outside of here, I don't watch you play, I don't see you play, I'm not at practice, I'm not talking to the head coaches. I don't know how valuable that actually is. I think we would be far more valuable if we were in the rooms with coaches talking about practice, talking about differentiating stressors between high and low, and when should we back off, and when can we push it. Actively watching every game, not just being there, but like being very involved in each athlete's lives and what's going on. So I think that there's potential for it to be more important than it is. I would say how I see most people implement it, it's a little half-ass and probably not totally necessary.
Yeah, let's be honest, we're still in the frontier. We're still trying to figure this thing out. It's still relatively, new. So a lot of the time it's like, all right, here's a fucking Wendler 5-3-1. It's like, why are you giving that to a fucking lacrosse player? Like, what's going on here? It's like, oh no, it's fine. It's a strength program. I was like, yes, but completely out of fucking context. And it's okay, maybe they're going to get stronger. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But is it going to help their sport? Probably not. Like maybe not. I don't know. We're figuring this out. And I think the best point that you made is learn the people. Learn your fucking people, man. Like you're there to help an individual, this human being that's then also got to go do their job. Help them do their bloody job. Everything else comes involved with it. You got to work with the psychologists and work with the coaches and yeah, okay, understand the rules of the game, rather than, I don't know. I've never played American football. You wouldn't hire me. You would fucking put me American football for dummies and right, learn these rules, mate. And once you get a grasp of the game, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can understand a little bit going on now. I got 1,000,001 questions. Once I get those answers, we gonna get involved, right? You need to understand what they're doing rather than all right in the gym, do this. Yeah, you move pretty well. Out you go, high five, piss off. I was like, if that's all we're doing, let's just coach GPP athletes, man. Let's just go coach Linda down the street and just sack off this high performance sport. Because I don't think it's beneficial, when we're taking people out of context. As they're always living their life. We need to understand them, as people, and then as their job, and then whatever else is going on, right?
Yeah, and I would say that, and again, at least here in the States, like the athletes spend probably more time with their strength coach than any other coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so again, that highlights the role that I'm talking about, where it's like we have a lot of opportunity to get buy-in and to kind of shape and influence this athlete into the person that we believe can succeed. And again, I would say that um, especially with the younger athletes that I work with, I'm far more valuable in my ability to get them to overcome mental hurdles and believe in themselves. I can get people faster and stronger, and at this point in my career, that doesn't really do much for me, um, because I've done it so frequently, and it's just fucking easy. Like if you just train, you usually you get better. Um,
Funny that,
I
isn't it?
I think, I mean that's how it is. I think the harder part though is you get a lot of athletes that have game day anxiety, or who don't fully believe in themselves, or in this generation, and I know every generation thinks the generation under them is different. Um, they're maybe a little bit different mentally than some of those other generations, and I think you can even see this in pro sports today. Like one of my favorite players is Kobe Bryant. Obviously, I love Tom Brady. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that when you look at those three individuals, they were killers. Um, like they would do anything to win. It didn't matter. Like Jordan, and Jordan, I would obviously throw in there too, right? Like Jordan would punch a teammate in the face during practice. Again, I know in today's day and age that would be frowned upon, but these are people that were just obsessed and dedicated to their craft, and they're kind of who I mirrored my own profession after. It's like I want to go all in. I want to maximize every part of my ability. But it's the mindset that separated a lot of those guys. Like Kobe wasn't the most, obviously, he's supremely gifted, but he wasn't like LeBron James gifted. Um, Jordan was an incredible athlete, but like we have seen better physical athletes in terms of just like straight up raw qualities. Same thing with Tom Brady. But what separated those guys was just that instinct that they had. And so if I can teach athletes, and obviously I can't make them those people, um, but if I can just instill some confidence in them, and teach them sometimes just how to think, like that's big in my facility. Like I want people to know how to think critically. I want to challenge them. I want them to grow. I want them to compete, and I just want them to lay it all out there because once sports end, they end. And so if I can get you a little bit better in that area, I feel like that far supersedes anything I can do with a barbell or sprinting wise.
100%. You make them better people. You're building better humans, more robust, resilient, bulletproof, whatever you want to call it. You're building better human beings. So one day their career is going to end, but that mentality is going to bleed off into everything else that they do. And maybe they're a little bit more functioning into society, right? Rather than just this golden bollock fucking athlete that's like just falls to pieces once they're done. It's like, let's get on the blow. We're like, well, maybe that's not the best route to go down, and let's be honest, S&C doesn't stand for strength and conditioning. It stands for strength and counselor. Like that's basically our job, man. A lot of the time, it's like, mate, I can teach you how to fucking squat and throw things above your head, and yet no problem. Like we've got our bulletproof pretty much 98% of the time. We've got our cues down. They're going to work with pretty much everybody, especially when you start working with high end athletes, right? Like they already know their body. They know how it moves. They're all fantastic. It's just little tweaks here, there, and everywhere. You just give them the program and thanks for playing. Checkmate. I'm going to cash my check. I was like, yeah, but what about the top 2 inches? I had an old school rugby coach who he literally was like the fucking Scarlet Pimpernel. Everybody knew of him, but nobody knew where he was. And he'd be here. He'd be like, right, lads, why's the boots not on? It's like, the fuck have you been? He probably was about 4'10", man, scariest bloke you'd ever fucking met. And every time I still hear him today, and he was just like, it's the top 2 inches, lads. I know us being young lads thinks, he's making some sort of crude joke. And it's like, no, it's the top 2 inches. It's up here. It's all about the mentality. And it's that seed that was planted. Maybe, fuck, what were we? 12? I think we were 12 years of age. And he's like, top 2 inches always. Like, what's going on up here? And it's never left me, man. And we've got that impact on people. And we kind of have the finger in that pie. And yeah, the strength side is fantastic. The athleticism is fantastic. Bounding, running. Yeah, mega. But what's going on up here? How are they approaching the game? How are they approaching coming off a loss? Are they like punching a locker and firing themselves up? And dude, you got beat. You're gonna have to learn to deal with that, and then get back out there and give it another bash.
Yeah, and I think that the gym is unique in that almost everybody, literally everybody, can make some kind of progress, right?
Yeah,
And it's usually relative to the effort that they put in, where it's like, again, now if you're comparing yourself to other people, right, you can go down that rabbit hole. But for the most part, it's like if you see yourself start accomplishing things that you probably didn't think were possible, that opens the gates for us. And that's another area where we have to make sure that we remind people, um, of what they've done and how far they've come. And in those, it's like those little building blocks before they get back to their sport. It's like I just want them to be very confident in their own abilities and being able to see yourself make progress is huge. And it's very easy to do in the gym. Again, as long as you just show up, you're going to jump higher, you're going to sprint faster, you're going to get stronger. Um, and those things, you know, they do build confidence in younger athletes, and they do make them feel better about themselves. And so that alone is going to make them a better athlete. So I again, I like to have my athletes compete with one another, but at the end of the day, I am always kind of reminding them where they started and where they are now. So like I like using kinograms of their running. I like using old videos of them running. I like having that stuff. It's cool for me to look at, and but at the end of the day, it's like I don't need it that much. I like it for them,
Mm.
and I like being able to show them progress that they've made.
Yeah, it's a physical representation of the progress that they've made mentally, right? They've developed into someone else. And we know, like, what's the best program in the world? The one that you stick to. Like, that's it, man. Go do fucking Zumba 3 times a week. I don't care. Like, just do something, man. It's better than sat on your ass with your thumb in your bum. Just fucking do something, man. But a lot, a lot of the time, these young athletes don't know that. It's like, give me all this periodized, all this bollocks, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, just here you go. Get a little video. It's like, this is you lifting a barbell week 1. This is you lifting a barbell week 8. And you're like, oh, look at that. You're like, yeah, look at that. Like, you just showed up 2, 3 times a week. Like, it's a miracle. They think we're magic a lot of the time. It's like, no, dude, it's just time, it's just effort, a little bit of consistency, and that's it, dude. And it bleeds down. It's funny. Like, you have the same conversation with, somebody who comes off the street who just wants to move around for 2 to 3 times a week. Not an athlete, just she might be doing accountant or they might be a bloody lawyer or something. Don't really move the body. It's exactly the same. Hey, be consistent with something. It's probably going to work. That's it. Go for a walk for 15 minutes. Do something.
Yep.
Mate, here's a question I like asking. Why do you do what you do?
Um, I do just genuinely love what I do, and Um, I've been asked a lot of times, like if you gave me $100 million, would I still be doing what I'm doing? And the answer is yes. I would probably just I'd cut my hours a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
but I absolutely would still be with my same athletes in my same facility. Maybe I go to a bigger one with 100 million. But still doing the same thing that I'm doing right now. And I think for me, I really genuinely love it. I've loved training since I was young. Um, you know, I had like I had a shoulder injury when I was younger, and I saw everybody under the sun, doctors, PTs, orthos. I did acupuncture. I had a mom that would do anything for me. We were going all over the fucking country. Um, and it wasn't until I met Buddy when I was about 19 that he was like, listen, you're just fucking doing too much. Control your volume, eliminate the irritant a little bit, and go from there. And it was like, okay, that's all. Like, this guy who was a fucking communications major knew more about the human body than any doctor, chiro, PT, physio that I ever saw. Now, I had surgery on this shoulder too. The surgery didn't do anything. So I have a nerve entrapment and the muscles atrophied that's never coming back. But I've never gone back to the level of pain that I was in simply by just understanding how to modify my total training volume.
Mm.
That's all I ever needed to do. And so he was one of the main reasons why I got into the field because again, I initially went to law school. I went to law school for a year and I was like, this is fucking miserable. And I was like thinking the other part is like, at the time, Buddy had just left the Cleveland Browns. He was the strength coach there. I'm like, this guy gets to fucking wear sweatpants and cutoffs every day, and gets to lift weights and talk to people about training. Like that's a fucking job. And like I'm sitting here in the law library, reading nonstop, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. So I never knew it was a career, but like ever since I was 11, 12 years old, I was like taking my parents' weights and lifting. I watched every Arnold movie, every Stallone movie. So for me, it's just been something that I've loved my whole life, that I've been reading about my entire life. And I'm just obsessed with getting better and knowing more. And like I said, I would keep doing it even if I didn't have to.
Mm. I think people have a poor relationship with the word obsession. Obsession, passion, they're a bit different, but
I'll
they're
be honest. I'll be honest with you. Anybody that would look at my life would tell you that I don't have good balance.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, sure.
and again, but I don't think that I would. I don't think that I would know as much as I know, and I don't think my business would have done as well as it has if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And maybe there's somebody out there that's a lot better at managing these things than I am, but um, no, this is the only way that I know how to do anything. It's just like I just go all in, go 100% at it, and I don't try to wear multiple hats. I'm not trying to run all these different businesses. Like this is what I do. This is what I keep trying to get better at, and that's why I would call it, unfortunately, an obsession.
I don't think it's unfortunate at all, man. Like I get the same. I kind of have to force it across a couple of different things. Otherwise, I go all the way in and end up fucking working myself into a bloody fine powder. Maybe
My
it's just
my
because,
HRV and my sleep data might disagree with you.
God damn it. Let's see in the But I don't know, man. Like, my question would be, back to somebody who's like, oh, you have to fucking find the balance. I was like, do you love it? And if the answer is yeah, then you're doing what you fucking love, man. That's it's the same as we have to communicate with the athlete to be able to find their fine balance for them. And sometimes it's like Usain Bolt eating chicken nuggets before he breaks the world record, man. You'd look at that and be like, we shouldn't be doing that. It's like, yeah, but he produced this result. So how can you argue with it? I would say the same thing with yourself to anybody who would fucking play any card. You'd be like, look at the result. And then also ask the individual, are you having a good time? If the answer is yeah, fucking leave the bloke alone.
Well, I think it's good for our athletes to know that we love it too, because I
Yeah.
think they have a lot of coaches that don't. And I think again, it helps. Like I'm very transparent with my athletes. I'm very open and honest with them, but they see how dedicated I am.
Mm,
And so it just like there's almost an immediate level of trust. And I should always have to earn that trust. Like it shouldn't end there. But um they trust me very quickly because they can tell how much I love what I do and how passionate I am for it. And so again, if we go back to the beginning of getting athletes to buy in, that's one of the biggest things we can do. Um, I definitely make sure they know that I care, make sure they know that I study and I research. And so there is that built-in level of trust almost instantly.
exactly. It's the best way to get somebody to buy in. Somebody who truly gives a fuck. You're like, okay, I'll run through a brick wall for you now. That's human nature, right? Brother, I got three questions.
All right, let's hear them. Rapid fire.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh, um, that's tough. All right, let me hit me with number two and let me think about that one.
That's all right. Number two is the flip. What's the worst piece of life advice you ever received?
Oh, Jesus. Um, God, these are tough. Um, all right, wait, what's number three?
What are the three words you'd tell your younger self?
Um, Younger self probably go into finance. Um, just because that I mean I didn't the level of the level of money in that field is just kind of crazy. I didn't even know that it really existed.
Yeah.
Um, that I would definitely probably consider that because then I could work, 5, 6 years, retire, and then just train people the rest of my life,
Mm.
and that would be pretty easy. Um, all right, I can't really think of the best advice that somebody ever gave me. Um, I for me, like I just used people, I guess, as role models,
Mm.
and like there probably was some great. Okay, wait, actually, let me take that back. The name of the story is not coming to me right now, but it was one of the last conversations that I had had with my dad. We were on Instant Messenger. Do you remember that?
Hmm.
AOL. And he sent me this story, and again, I was in college at the time, so I didn't read it fully. And then, like, I don't know, a week or two after that, he had passed, but for some reason, I saved the conversation. And basically, in the story, it was about a guy who was told to go. He was like, go. It was during some wartime. He's like, go travel to Spain or whatever. Find this guy, give him this, and the guy just took it and went. And the moral of that story was, he didn't ask a million questions. He didn't sit and dwell and this is that. He just fucking did it.
Mm.
And he told me that, that's the kind of man that you should be. You should be somebody that if something needs to get done, you just fucking do it. And he uses an example in it where he's like, if any boss in his office were to go to somebody and say, hey, um, you know, find this, they would ask a million questions. Well, where should I look? When do you need it by? This, and that. And so for me, it's always just been like, if there's something that I need to do or something that I want to do, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to try to ask a million questions about it. I'm just going to try to fucking figure it out. If I have to figure it out on my own, then that's what I have to do. And that's definitely how I've tried to live my life is just see something that I want to do and just do it.
Get it done.
Um,
Yeah.
the worst, I guess, and the worst kind of advice out there would just be, you know, to just try to fit in and blend in and go on the same path that everybody else is going on. So, you know, go to this school and do this major and work this job. And I think in today's day and age, it's poor advice. And I know that higher education can be a good thing, but I think the average person really should just get out and try to find the things that they want to do a little bit and learn and make mistakes and not be so afraid of being wrong. And I think academia is definitely not structured in a way that preaches curiosity and sometimes making errors where it's just like, I think it's totally fine if you fuck up a bunch, if you don't know what you want to do, if you change your major 4 times, if you drop out and go back. It's like these things are not a big deal. It's like you don't have to follow this rigid path that everybody makes it seem like you need to. So I would say, that kind of advice I think is detrimental for the average young person. I do think that they should just go for whatever the hell they want to do. And keep trying, and if you have to go back and go down this boring ass path, then you do that at some point.
Mm,
But yeah, I think that would be what I think is pretty bad advice for today.
I'd agree, brother. Thank you so much for this. This has been an honor and a privilege, man. I love geeking out over this strength stuff. About this fitness scene, which is kind of a strange way to pay your bills, but fuck me, I love it, man.
I'm with you there. And I appreciate you having me on.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'll let you know whenever I'm over in Buffalo.
Okay, get some chicken wings, all right?
All right, brother. All right, have a
All
good
right,
day.
have a
I'll
good
speak to you
one.
soon.
All
Bye,
right,
everybody.
bye.